The play-in is rolling. The playoffs are just a few days away. What teams or trends should the Pacers be keeping an eye on in the postseason? Could any former Pacers walk away with a championship this year? A lot to dive into on today's Locked On Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Happy Thursday, and welcome into another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers. As always, my name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes and Circle City Spin. In today, we're diving in to the playoffs. It's so weird talking about the postseason, and the Pacers aren't in it. Like 3 months of podcasts, 4 months over the last 2 years covering it. Not happening this year, which is a huge bummer. Pacers still the reigning Eastern Conference champions as of right now, but there's still stuff to gain from every playoffs, learning about trends, seeing which teams rise or fall that could be coming for a challenge for the Pacers. A specific team that I think, and I'm going to spend the first segment talking about, that I think is the team the Pacers could watch the most closely, and always fun for me, at least, because I don't ever know. Could any ex-Pacers win a title? Who could we be talking about? And of course, in early June, I'll do the what the Pacers can learn from the finals teams, how they were built, etc. It's going to hit a little different this year when the Pacers just built a finals team last year. Let me start this with the team that I personally will be watching the most closely. And I hinted at this at a podcast like 2 weeks ago. It's the Boston Celtics. And I think they have the most, maybe not lessons, but the most things that I think the Pacers should be keeping an eye on, some obvious and some not so obvious, in this postseason, right? I think some consider them the favorites in the East. Maybe they are. Maybe they're not. The top four are all pretty good, but they have at least the most things that I think the Pacers could walk out of the postseason going, let's have a meeting about this. Let's think about this, right? So one is generally not like a takeaway, but just that in the last two postseasons, the Pacers have lost 2 series, and they've lost to one East team. It's the Celtics. That's it. They have beaten every other Eastern Conference team they have played in the playoffs. And they got lost 4-0 in that series. It will be remembered as a sweep, but they were very competitive in 3 of the 4 games. Are the Celtics still awesome in the postseason? And I'll get to in a second that the answer might be no. That 1 year was their title year. But are they still going to be a team that looks like their peak level poses problems for everyone, including the Pacers? Is this just a 1-year experience, and then next year with peak Tatum, they look awesome again? How different are things in the postseason without Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis and some other guys they've gotten rid of, right? That is of note to the league next year, but really this year. Like, if they look great, they're back. They made 2 finals. They won 1 of them already. They're very good. Detroit also, in this specific vein of their team, seems very good. But I'll be curious about the Celtics specifically as a Pacers challenger, and we'll talk about Detroit later. And I know I said that they had obviously the run where they won it all, and I'll talk about this in a second, but they also had 2 playoff runs where they got badly upset, like by the Heat and the Knicks. The Heat 3 years ago and the Knicks last year. So the Celtics general level as the team that eliminated the Pacers in the East 2 years ago is, of course, a thing to watch. That's generically thing one. Thing two, to me, I don't even know how to really put like a theme to this, but it's just kind of how they play, right? It's so unique to me that the way they play, and it's not unique in that it doesn't make sense. You can watch their team and the skills of their best players and understand why the Boston Celtics play the way they do. They have, even in the past, even more of this, but just wings on wings, switchy defenders. They're tough to play against because they're so principled at their style, but their style itself does not make you think of traditional things of basketball success. What do you think of the Celtics rank in assist rate this year? Percentage of their shots that are assisted that go in. Right, that seems like something good teams do. They pass the ball to their teammate, and their teammate scores. The Celtics are dead last in the league in assist percentage. Right, they have the highest percentage of their shots that go in unassisted in the league, and their offense is amazing. It's 4th in the NBA. Drives per game, something that the Pacers love. Get into the paint, touch the paint, make a defense react. Very obvious to explain why drives are good. Lots of teams like to drive the basketball. Very naturally thought of as a way to get into the teeth of the defense. What do you think the Celtics rank in drives per game? It's not last this time. It's 17th. Okay, that's fine. That's okay. It's not like you're good or bad at it. It's fine. Passes per game, an increasing trend. Pacers try to lead the league in passes. Many teams pass the ball very well that are good. The Warriors in their dynasty run led the league in passes quite often, right? Passing is important. Now, obviously, if they don't have a high assist percentage, their passing numbers might not be impressive. But what do you think the Celtics rank in the league in passes per game? You might not even be guessing. The answer is also like drives, 17th. They are so fascinating in the way they play. That style I just described, you could very easily figure out the things that it caters to. One, very low turnovers. They're among the bottom teams in the league in lowest good turnover rate. That's a good thing. More chances to score is good when you have, very efficient per shot offense. And that's something that not driving very often and putting yourself around defenders in that pressure point, you're not going to turn it over as much. If you're not passing as much, less chance for those errors, right? And so obviously it works in other ways. They shoot a bajillion threes. We'll get to that in a second. But just statistically thinking about the Boston Celtics, watching the Boston Celtics play, the style they put on the floor that works for them. To be clear, they won a championship 2 years ago. It's like the opposite of the Pacers almost. It's not stagnant. It doesn't look like the ball sticks and they just chuck something up. But it is very much different in that the ball doesn't move as much. There's not as much ball movement to create an open shot or wow, that guy really got into the teeth. That stuff happens. It's just not nearly as much as the Pacers. Their style is almost the opposite. And as the league continues, right, something Rick Carlisle said talking about the Ben Mathurin trade that applies to this is the league is trying to trend more towards what the Pacers do. More movement, more passing, trying to do that without turning over the ball, random, hard-to-guard stuff. Everybody's trying to do that. When Ben Mathurin got traded, Rick Carlisle said, more teams are trying to do the style that we were trying to get him to fit into here. And I remember 2 years ago when the Pacers started bad before their finals run, not bad, but, relatively poor, a coach saying, non-Pacers coach saying, everybody's playing like them but them, right? So people want to play that way. Their personnel, the Celtics, does not match the Pacers enough to really play that way, but they are just nasty at their own version of creating their own shots. And some of that is just like one guy getting to his elbow jumper. Some of that is just they have an insanely confident team of pull-up three-point shooters, right? That is super valuable. If you can, on any given possession, a dead possession, just whip up a three, huge, especially if they go in a good amount. And they have good shooters on their team. Pritchard can do this. White can do this. Tatum can do this. Brown, to a lesser extent, can do this. He's more the elbow guy I was talking about. But that's super valuable. That's so helpful to your team and doesn't require a start of a possession or doesn't require the randomness to break down the defense and create the system bucket. The system bucket is the players. They were 4th in the league in three-point attempts per game this season and 8th in percentage because they can get them up at volume without passing and they can make them. Very valuable. Right? That is super helpful to their offensive style. 27th in assists per game, but the first lowest turnovers. So that style is so different. And Mazzulla, for all the crap he gets for being like a goober, and when he talks, he's very mathy. He's very into how all this maximizes their offense. And he's so smart at the end of quarter time management, things like that. So I don't think, as I've said many times when talking about the Pacers in regards to Zubats, that the Pacers should change their play style at all next season. The way they play got them very far. Twice. However, I wonder if there's things they could tweak or borrow from the team that is their foil, the opposite team that beat them. Is there more value in the Pacers on like a low shot clock possession? Do they force in an action or do you just burp up a three? That sounds bad, but it's, should there be more shooting willingness? The other thing is, the Celtics style that I'm talking about being different than a lot of other teams. Again, I mentioned this earlier. They've been upset twice in the last 3 years. They won a title in between, so all is forgiven. But what if they get upset again? There's a lot of interesting things at play here that make me wonder if the Celtics are the team, the number one team to watch for the Pacers in the postseason when it comes to how they play and how it works in the postseason. And it has worked before, but that was with their old team. So those two things in tandem are already like, hey, the Pacers should just watch every Celtics game and take notes. But there's obviously a third thing, and I think is very obvious, and I bet some of you thought would be my leading point. Jason Tatum is playing in the postseason for the Boston Celtics. He also ruptured his Achilles in the postseason last year. He's obviously been back for a while. He looks pretty dang good already. What level does he reach in the playoffs? How often is he able to play as time passes and the stakes get higher? Does he get better? Does he get worse? Do his minutes have some sort of peak that limits him in the postseason? Haliburton is going to have a much longer time before his return. That may not be relevant, but any data point the Pacers can take from, they should be. And Tatum's return, and in a postseason setting, is, of course, of serious note. So there's lots of reasons to me between past results, between their changed team, between the way they play, between the major injury their star suffered. This is a layup to me. This is the team that the Pacers should be having their most eyes on, is the Boston Celtics in the playoffs. I can't wait to watch them. They're officially playing the Sixers. Only one of the play-in games for the night is done as I'm recording this. But I'm looking forward to watching the Celtics quite a bit. There's some other things to keep an eye on, other teams, other trends, other numbers. That's coming up next year as we keep going on Locked On Pacers. But first, everybody, let me talk to you about two lovely groups of people. First up is Rocket Money. If you've ever opened your bank account and thought, where'd all my money go? You're not alone. Keeping track of your subscriptions, your spending, and bills can get overwhelming very fast. That's where Rocket Money comes in. Helps you take control of your finances all in one place. It tracks your subscriptions in one spot and help cancel the ones you don't need with just a few taps. It automatically categorizes your spending so you can actually see where your money's going, and you can set budgets, get alerts, and stay on top of upcoming bills. Just makes everything feel more organized and gives you a clear picture of your finances day to day. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/lockedon. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Let me also talk to you guys about Gametime. There is nothing like being in an NBA arena, the crowd, the energy, the moment. Getting tickets, though, that part has not always been so simple. That's why Gametime has become the go-to app for scoring tickets fast, but the hassle puts the advantage back where it belongs with the fans. I've heard from many of you that have used Gametime to great success to go to sporting events in your area. You can pull up the app, pick an upcoming NBA or other sporting event game, have tickets locked in within minutes. You can see the all-in price up front. You can see the view from your seat before you buy your tickets. They have zone deals that'll stand out where you just pick a section and save. Great last-minute options. Everything is quick, intuitive, and stress-free from start to finish, as it should be. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account. Use the code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. That's code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today, and remember, it's gametime.co, not .com. And we are back here on Locked On Pacers. Thanks for making this your first listen today and every single day. Your second listen, Locked On Sixers. The 76ers get it done against the Magic. Turns out the Magic cannot beat the Celtics to get the home court for that game, cannot beat the Embiidless Sixers. I think the whole world is rooting for the Hornets against the Magic. Locked On Sixers for your second listen, and get Locked On Sixers or Locked On Pacers or any show ad-free with the new offering here, the Everydayer Club Plus members-only Discord access where fans of your favorite team, if it's the Pacers, there's some there. I talk to them sometimes, are chatting. Check it out, lockedonpodcast.com/everydayer. It's in the link of this episode as well. Let's keep going on the playoffs. Some trends, some teams, some things that I and the Pacers generically could keep an eye on. One, another team for a much smaller, more grand reason. The Denver Nuggets. Why the Denver Nuggets? I'm not saying that I think the Pacers are going to be bottom 10 on defense next season. They finished last season strong, got about to league average. They defended well in the playoffs, but they were quite bad this past year. And they have a new center coming to hopefully help with a lot of that. But that has been the Pacers thing the last couple of years, even with their successes, is they're a much better offensive team than defensive team. What do you think the Denver Nuggets ratings are right now? I should stop making you guess. This is a bit stupid now. The Denver Nuggets have the NBA's best number one offensive rating this season. The best. Their defensive rating is 21st. Bottom 10 in the league. Barely, but still, it's bottom 10. Can that actually work? Can a team that has legitimate finals aspirations actually make it there? That, yes, scoring is great. Scoring a lot of points is great. They are legitimately good enough to win multiple series to me. Can their defense actually be good enough to do it? I wonder. And if they do great and they make the conference finals or the finals or whatever, maybe I should not care as much about the Pacers' defensive struggles from this past season. Maybe I shouldn't care anyway because it was a gap year and they were really hurt. But what if the Nuggets get completely rocked? What if they really struggle with Minnesota like they have in past years and lose, or they look horrible in some series? Maybe it's a thing the Pacers can think about with their defense, is if the other team that kind of fits close but not exactly to their statistical profile has a poor playoffs. We have two other teams to get to, but we're going to bounce around how we're doing this. Team topic. In the no-team division, something that has become an increased trend kind of in the league the last few years that the Pacers benefited from because they were smart, is the need for depth, and specifically like no players with grand weaknesses. John Morant called them pigeons, for example. I like the term pigeon theory. But when a player is on the floor that has such a good defender but a terrible offensive player and just gets completely not guarded, that really bogs you down in the postseason. Same thing on the other end. If a player can really score but they're a terrible defender, it's hard to play him. Doug McDermott's role really faded for the Pacers 2 years ago in the playoffs. But depth is important now in this era of pace, and depth that doesn't suck at some specific thing is extra important. The Thunder obviously have a lot of that. They're going to look great. But how do the rest of the teams look? Is there a team that can do it without as much depth, or do the teams with more depth that rely on it more often do the best? Specifically, teams that kind of change their approach to that. The Knicks will be a team to keep an eye on there, because the Pacers' depth is just a little weaker than it has been, and that's something that is different from their peak the last couple of years, as their depth has changed. Does it still shine? Does it still feel like the most important thing ever? It helped the Celtics championship. It helped the Thunder championship, the Pacers finals. What is the value of depth in a faster and faster league where weak points get exploited to every single little way it can? Another team that I am very interested in kind of generically for their statistical profile and what it looks like, and they clinched their playoff spot, thankfully, so I can actually talk about them. They've been in my notes for a bit, is the Portland Trail Blazers. The Blazers are fascinating. Do you know, I said I'd stop the bit, but I'm going to keep doing it. Do you know, or what do you think, if you watch the Blazers playing a game or you watch their games against the Pacers, whatever, what do you think the Blazers turnover rate rank is in the league? It's last. They turn it over more than anybody in the entire league, which is crazy looking at their team. What do you think their defensive rebound rate is? I don't even write down the specific number. Below average defensive rebound rate. They're very good in the offensive glass. Donovan Clingan is a very good rebounder generally. That is a fascinating statistical resume for a team that actually has a decent record and is in the postseason as the 7th seed in the West. They turn it over like crazy. They don't get a bunch of defensive rebounds. How do they keep up with these teams if they're just getting wrecked in the possession battle? Their per single possession efficiency is pretty good. And the Pacers, something that is part of the Tyrese Haliburton superpower that every team that tries to copy them can't emulate, is that he can really move the ball and get possessions going and have burst and never turn it over. Like not infrequently, like sometimes literally never, right? Can a team with the opposite approach do anything of note? I'll say this. I don't know if I agree with this, but True Hoop wrote a pretty compelling story today about why the Blazers, they're not picking them to beat the Spurs necessarily, but could make some noise. Some other people I know that are, big numbers, people think the Blazers could actually be somewhat threatening in this postseason. To the team that cares the opposite, it seems like, amount about the possession battle to the Pacers, can they do anything? Fascinating. I can't wait to see what they look like. Denny Avdia looked awesome in that game against the Suns. Two more general kind of takes about the postseason, one about a team and one about the league at large. One is, I wrote this story last year for SB Nation about the Pacers and their pace, because I'll never forget in New York 2 seasons ago when the Pacers beat the Knicks and makes their first conference finals. And somebody asked Tyrese Haliburton about that, right? The adage of, the game slows down in the playoffs. And before he answered thoughtfully, Tyrese Haliburton looked at the reporter and he said, "Do you think we've slowed down?" And the answer was no. And the Pacers' success in the postseason has been about being themselves and playing fast. And that's rare. The trope is that the game slows down, but I don't think that is, it's still a little bit true, but I don't think it's as much the case. I still think the Pacers are a little unique in their ability to play fast in the postseason and have a ton of success with it. And of the top 10 in pace this year, I forget who wrote the story. It was at ESPN. Zach Cram, I think it was. There was a good story he wrote about how the fast teams all stink this season. And it's true. Of the top 10 in pace in the regular season this year, 3 of them made the playoffs. The 7 of the 10 teams that didn't make the playoffs at all, or the play-in, were in the top 10 in pace. The 3 that made it are Minnesota, who's exactly 10th in pace, Portland, who's exactly 9th, and the Hawks. The Hawks play fast. That's it. Is pace is becoming like a too reductive stat? Like, it's not used the perfect way to describe teams anymore. The quality of your offense compared to your pace can vary by team, but is fast still really good if everyone is trying to play faster? How much of an advantage is that really providing? Or is there still okay, everybody slow down, chill, run your stuff, get the best shot you can kind of element to the postseason? I'll be fascinated to see what that looks like, or if it even matters, because the Pacers are, as I've stated many times in this episode, so unique in their style. This last one is kind of in the same vein as one thing, and I kind of mentioned this when talking about the Celtics. This is sort of mostly, to me, concentrated to one team, but is much more general than that. And so, like I've said, the Pacers, they're 2 playoff runs. They beat New York twice. They beat Cleveland. They beat Milwaukee twice. But they lost to Boston. Boston's the only team that beat them. Boston's probably going to be good next year. Are there any new teams that look like, oh, that could be a threat to the Pacers, right? Especially one that has 60 wins and has a young enough team that some of their players could be legitimately better without adding anyone. And that's the Detroit Pistons. And that is the next team that I want to talk about. Are they a team at the top of the East that you watch on the postseason and go, oh man, that is going to be a tough team to beat for the Pacers or for anybody in the next couple of years? They have a very young star and look very good. I'll be fascinated to see how good they look. They've obviously played a playoffs before and lost a very close 6-game series, right? What do they look like now? Are they good enough to be a threat? I think they are. I think they're going to win around for sure, and possibly two. Did their specific strengths look scary for the Pacers? That will be a telling team. But there's also like the here comes the teams, specifically the Charlotte Hornets. What if they look awesome? What if they make it? They're playing Detroit. That series could be fascinating to see. Are these threats to keep an eye on in future seasons? If the Pacers make a run next year, who's going to be scary? Is their playoff route going to look different? The East in general is more noteworthy because 3 of the 4 series the Pacers would play would be against those teams. Do any of them look different, better, worse, whatever, than they have in past seasons? Because the Pacers are going to hope to beat them next year. The final segment today, the ex-Pacers. Something I love to do. Is there a guarantee of a Pacers champion? Is there a guarantee of a Pacers finalist? Actually, not a very good list of ex-Pacers. And by good, I mean long for this year. Who's the best chance to make the finals? That's coming to close out today's Locked On Pacers. But first, everybody, got to talk to you about 2 more great groups of people. First up is Indeed. You have workplace chaos. Your deadlines are stacking up. Your inbox is overflowing. The one position you have to fill, it's still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs, who help you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for with the skills, experience, and location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your posts. And here's the stat that says it all. In this minute, I'm going to be talking to you about Indeed. Companies like yours will make 27 hires on the platform according to their data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Less stress for you, less time for you, but more results. We need the right person to cut through the chaos. It's a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help your job get the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now. Support this podcast by saying you heard about it on Locked On Pacers. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire. This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Let me also talk to you guys about Rugiet. The NHL playoffs are here too. When every shift matters, every moment is intense, and the pressure's at its highest, that's when things get crazy. The Flyers are a fun team to watch. They just pushed back the location of the Sixers series. Just like performance matters on the ice, it matters off the ice too. That's where Rugiet comes in. The effort treatment's designed to help you get ready and stay ready when it matters. Their top option, Rugiet Ready, combines clinically proven ingredients in a simple mitt that dissolves under your tongue. It works fast, often in about 15 minutes. It can last up to 36 hours. They also offer Go Long, designed to help with both performance and control. It's all about confidence and feeling like yourself again. Head to Rugiet.com/LockedOnNHL and get 15% off your ED treatment. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnNHL for 15% off Rugiet Performance Medicine for Men. And we are back here on Locked On Pacers. Thanks for making us your first listen today and every single day. Checking the score right this moment. I've had the game up a little bit, but it became too distracting off to the side. But Clippers leading the last time I checked over the Warriors. Locked On Clippers will have more. They're up 9 right now in the fourth quarter. So potentially Suns-Clippers would be very fun. Locked On Suns to hear about whatever the matchup ends up being. Okay, let's close this out with something I like to do every year. This is for me and for fans of the team. What ex-Pacers are potentially still alive? The Warriors have none, so we can just quickly get past them. There's only, ironically, one series that guarantees an ex-Pacer even makes it to the second round this year. I think that's insane. If the second, this would require some upsets, but if the second round this year is the Celtics, Raptors, Knicks, Hornets, Thunder, Spurs, and Lakers all win, 7 of the 8 teams would have no former Pacers on it, which is just kind of wild to me. The Thunder have none. The Thunder will either be playing the Clippers, Warriors, or Suns. The Warriors and Suns both have none. The Thunder have none, right? That's crazy. The Clippers have 3. They have Ben Mathurin and Isaiah Jackson, obviously. If you want to laugh, Kawhi Leonard, I guess technically, I wouldn't count that, but they still have 2. So that is a possibility, although I don't think anyone thinks the Clippers are beating the Thunder in the first round. But okay. So looking likely that the Thunder, with no ex-Pacers, will make the second round. Their side of the bracket features Lakers, Rockets. The Lakers have none. They have 0 former Pacers on their team unless you count the crazy one day that was DeAndre Ayton. It was even like 1 hour before the Pacers got matched by the Suns. The Rockets, their opponent, have 2. For a while, I thought they would win the race with the most. They did not. The Clippers had 2 real ones and a fake one. There is a team with 3. If you can guess it, good job. We'll get there in a second. The Rockets have Tristan Newton on a 2-way. He was balling in the G League this year. Pacers draft pick from the last draft, or 2 drafts ago, really. And Aaron Holiday, a Pacers player who is my height and has transformed himself into a 3-and-D wing. I find that absolutely crazy. Blazers and Spurs, the winner of that series will have no Pacers on their team because no ex-Pacers are on either team. Toumani Camara, the closest one I could come up with. He worked out for the Pacers twice pre-draft that year, and he was available for their second-round pick. They did not pick him. I don't know what dynamics went into that, but he looks great. He's a really good player. The only guarantee is in that other West series that's left. The Nuggets, who roster Bruce CB, Bruce Brown, and then the Wolves. Shout out to those who remember this one. He was just in Indy. Enrique Freeman is on Minnesota's roster. He's on a 2-way. So it's possible that the conference finals has no former Pacers in it. And it's possible the second round in the West only has 1, depending on how the series goes. So that's kind of shocking to me. I thought it was going to be much higher than that. The Celtics have no former Pacers. They play the 76ers officially. The Sixers have Paul George. That's it. That's it for the former Pacers in that series. The winner of that series will play the winner of Knicks Hawks. And congratulations to those of you who realized that the Atlanta Hawks are the team with the most former Pacers in this postseason. The Knicks have 0. And I think a lot of Pacers fans will just generically root against the Knicks. So that will be easy. They have no one on the team. The Hawks have 3. If you remember any of the 3, that's impressive. 2 of them played a game for the Pacers this year. Tony Bradley, if you missed it, got signed to the Hawks very late in the season after Jock Landale got hurt. Do you know how Jock Landale got hurt? He got tied up with Goga Bitadze, an ex-Pacer time warp there. Ray J. Dennis is on a 2-way contract with the Hawks, the All-G League third team member. Tristan Newton made the first team. And the third former Pacer on the Hawks, he barely plays. I think he's played 31 minutes for them this season. It's Buddy Hield. So the Hawks look good right now. Maybe they could pull that one off. But the Hawks are the team with the most former Pacers in this postseason setting. The other side of the bracket, the Cavs have Thomas Bryant. That's it. The Raptors have nobody. So Thomas Bryant, good for him. Finals backup last year, having a good time in Cleveland. The Pistons, their only former Pacer is Karis LeVert. If it's Pistons Cavs, that would guarantee a former Pacer, at least in the conference finals. But the Pistons either would be playing the Magic or the Hornets. If your exclusive rooting interest in the playoffs is seeing former Pacers go as far as possible, you are rooting for the Orlando Magic to win at home on Friday against the Hornets. The Hornets have 0 former Pacers. The Magic have 1. It's Goga Bitadze. So it looks somewhat likely that the West winner will have no former Pacers, and the East winner is a maybe. If it's Boston, it might be no former Pacers in the finals at all. Coaches, executives, things of that nature are different, but for the players-only aspect, we will see. It's an interestingly sparse year of former Pacers in the postseason, and that is what the Pacers will be watching in the playoffs this year. And again, when we get to the finals itself, we'll do lessons the Pacers can learn from the teams that actually made it, if there even are anything. Thank you all so much for listening today. You can find me on social media at Tony Reese and this podcast at Locked On Pacers. We'll be back tomorrow chatting with Kristen Airy about the Pacers season and his role in it and broadcasting all the games. Thank you all so much for listening. We will see you very soon.